My guest is Martin Case. Martin is with Memory Matters Online, and for lack of a better term, Martin is what I call a memory care consultant. Did I get that right, Martin?
Absolutely.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
You have so much information to give to us in a brief period of time. Tell us what you do.
Basically, I do care planning, I do assessments, I do education. That's how you and I ended up meeting, was I speak in public about what we're finding with dementias, diagnostics, what type of care, where we're headed as an industry.
Right.
And I do care planning, and I carry a caseload. So once somebody comes to me, I help develop a plan so they can go forward.
You have patients or clients, I'm not sure
yes,
what you call them.
I have clients.
Clients, and you work with those that either have or may have or are concerned about cognitive loss.
Absolutely.
And cognitive loss may not be exactly the same as Alzheimer's, but many of us attribute the two as the same. Am I right?
Yes.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Martin, give us a snapshot of the difference between a small memory loss and Alzheimer's disease. Our audience.
I'm glad you asked that.
We have so many seniors, and we wonder sometimes, are these things occurring to me?
Right, and in fact, they happen to everybody.
Okay.
It's normal human behavior, most of the time, people think they might have an issue. They say something along the lines of, I can't find my keys all the time.
Sure.
That's not a big deal.
Right.
You know, we all do that. We all lose names. We all lose words. We come up and we go, I can't think of, if you find that you forget something, and then either somebody reminds you and you can you get, oh yeah, that's what happened, or if you find that later on down the road, you remember by retracing your steps where your keys are and that sort of thing, that's not an issue. When you wake up and you find that you can't find where you put your keys and discover they're in the refrigerator, we might have an issue.
Sure.
We either have to skip the alcohol tomorrow night or something along those lines, and we might have some cognitive decline. However, most times when you've walked into a room and can't figure out what you're there for, that's very normal behavior. Okay. There's a lot of science behind why that happens, but when you've discovered that you cannot remember something, or it's consistently that you cannot remember it and it doesn't come back to mind, you need to see somebody right away.
Okay. That's a good distinction. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
You sent me several articles, some of them technical, and time doesn't permit us to get into that, except to say that in Alzheimer's research, some of the researchers are looking at a broad variety of items that can help us rather than a single cure. Tell us about that.
Well, just like, as you and I have talked about, just like with AIDS, cancer, cardiovascular issues, we discovered in medicine that we can't just take a single pill.
Right.
There's no silver bullet. And they've begun to branch into the idea that we're going to have to change our lifestyles. We're going to have to add some things to what we do and take some things away.
So it's a host of issues rather than just one cure.
Right. It's a cacophony. It's a whole cornucopia of stuff. And Dr. Bredesen out of UCLA, the Buck Institute in UCLA, has actually got a published paper that has really shaken up the overall perspective of how we do this. And he's had some very great success in what, by all documentation, by the results, although it's heresy, he's actually been able to reverse cognitive loss.
Okay, tell us in layman's terms what the 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 major items are that we might do to change to improve our mental health.
One of the main things,
One
of the main things you want to do, I personally would highly recommend daily getting out, and getting out whether it's cloudy or not when it's raining necessarily or inclement, but when it's cloudy or sunny, getting out and taking a walk for 30 minutes.
Now that doesn't mean a treadmill, does it?
No, because you're outside, you get vitamin D. We're actually supposed to be outside. We're not supposed to live inside buildings.
Good point.
And so that would supply a lot of vitamin D. It's hugely important in our physical maintenance and cognitive maintenance, and getting our cardiovascular system moving. We get to clean out some of the gunk that would go on if we don't end up staying active.
Now, before we went on the air, we talked about sugar, and I am astounded, and I think our viewers will be astounded to know how much we Americans consume of sugar. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's actually shocking. We if you just drink like a 16-ounce soda, and without naming name brands, they have up to 16 teaspoons full of sugar in them.
That's that
and
much sugar,
it's
is
huge.
it not?
Yeah, it's huge. And that's not talking about these big gulp things.
Right.
And they've got similar amounts of sugar in them. The average American is consuming between 22 and 25 teaspoons full of sugar every day.
Now stop. I want our viewers to get that because it took me a minute to get it. Say that again.
Between 22 and 25 teaspoons full of sugar every day.
Every
Nobody
day.
would sit down to do that. It'd make you
course.
sick.
Of course.
But we do that throughout the course of a day. In a year, it's 175 pounds of sugar. And we don't even realize we're doing
That's
it.
how much I weigh.
See? And what ends up happening is we develop insulin resistance. And I don't know that I'd mentioned this in talking with you before. One of the things that they're talking about Alzheimer's being renamed as, because it's not very descriptive as Alzheimer's, is type 3 diabetes.
I see.
And it's because our brain can develop an insulin resistance, and Alzheimer's has a connection to that. And it can trigger Alzheimer's. It can trigger a dementia. And it's just an unnatural amount of sugar that we're consuming, and it challenges our
Mass
systems.
sugar consumption equals cognitive loss. Am I
Absolutely
jumping?
can. Yeah, I mean, we all have met people that eat a lot of sugar and don't
Sure.
get type 2 diabetes.
Of course.
So, but the fact of the matter is there's a huge connection. Your viewers can look that up on the internet. Type 3 diabetes, there's a huge amount of research out there.
Wow.
The other things that are concerning are having white flour, things that are not whole grains, and anything that you actually have to add things back into in order to sell them over the counter as food,
Yeah.
they're really not food.
Now, you've mentioned exercise and sugar consumption, but there are 3 or 4 other items, and we're giving you this. We're giving our viewers the very short version. But
Right.
let's talk about those very quickly.
Okay. Getting enough sleep, 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. It
Right.
needs to be consistent. Don't take sleeping pills. Those are dangerous. Increased use of vegetables, raw vegetables, steamed vegetables, those type of lower
And we're told
processed.
that every day, aren't we?
Absolutely. And it's,
Yeah.
and it's true.
Yeah.
And consuming more things out of the ocean that aren't farm raised, seafoods, that sort of thing. Getting omega-3, taking that in our diets. Maintaining your overall cognitive function by trying new things, engaging yourself.
Sure. Give us some examples of challenging but productive exercises that seniors might engage in.
The most productive thing, according to Dr. Valenzuela, who's a neurologist, probably the foremost in the world for research at the moment, actually learn to dance with somebody and have a partner. It engages more areas of the brain than almost anything
I told
else.
my wife that after we spoke.
Did you
And
start dancing?
Well, she loves to dance, so it's my job to dance more with
Is
her.
that right? Well, if she's a professional dancer, it won't have quite the same balance to it. But if it's something we're learning and engaging in that requires some thought process,
Sure.
it's very helpful. It cross-wires things and makes it so that our cognition is
Fantastic.
maintained. At least in between meals, your last meal of the day, you should then go 12 hours without eating.
I found that very interesting. Give us a quick reason as to why.
Part of it is, in America, we tend to snack all the time, and we tend to eat late and continue to eat all throughout the day, which little meals all throughout the day are fine, but as we age, our digestive tracts are less effective. Giving it an opportunity to rest for 12 hours in
see.
between allows a healing process to go on that you wouldn't get otherwise. And so it allows better digestion, it allows for better overall intestinal function, and it lets things settle down. So if you've spiked the sugar throughout the day, you get a chance to settle it out.
I
that sort of
understand.
thing.
Martin, this has been so interesting. In the minute or 2 that we have remaining, let's talk about baselining. Now, tell us what it is and who can benefit from it.
Everybody knows that by the time you're 40 or 50 years old, you need to go in and get a colonoscopy.
Sure.
Nobody likes to talk about it. We need it because we can check and see if something's going on. Same thing with mammographies. You get a mammogram
Sure,
and that sort of thing. It's preventative. The same thing should be happening with one of the other organs in our body, which is our brain. We need to check on this stuff. And for a very small amount of money, it's $178, you can go to the Mars Memory Health Network in Wilmington and get testing done and get a great baseline that says how you're functioning today. And probably by the age of 40, you should have that in place. If you haven't and you're much older than that, like me, it's not too late. We can still get that checked out.
99% of us haven't done that.
That's right.
But it's still an opportunity for those of us.
And we can see at that point, even then, wherever we find it, that's the best place to get the diagnostics done. If you haven't had it done, get it done. And we'll see if you're functioning perfectly normally, if there are things we need to look out for, that so on and so forth. If the diagnostics find that there might be something going on, if you catch it early, there's a lot we can do.
That's what we want to hear. Say that one more time. No, really.
If you get the testing done and we find that something's going on, if we catch it early, we can do a whole lot with this disease process.
Sure.
We can actually, according to Dr. Bredesen, we can turn it around. We can stop it. Yeah. I know according to Valenzuela, and there are several other fabulous physicians now that are on the same boat, on the same road, we can stalemate this stuff.
This has been a fascinating interview. Martin Case, thank you for being with us.
Thank you
I've
very
really
much for
enjoyed
having
it,
me.
and our viewers will enjoy it, I know.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.